I don't think y'all got better today. I don't think you got better today.
You
the whole reason we here late.
He called you?
I got better. I might have been the reason we was late, but I got better.
He answered?
Okay, I'm gonna get better tomorrow and Saturday.
We throwing comebacks. We throwing comebacks. You just lost it and you placing it. You not throwing it.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Smoke, I love the competition during training between Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward.
It reminds me of me and you back in the day, Carl, when we used to go back and forth and just banter, and it's all good fun. One guy's trying to see who's going to be the first quarterback to come off the board. The other guy think that he is. Listen, competitive stuff like that only brings out the best out of both.
Later in the show today, we'll talk about why people think Cam Ward might be the front runner for the ACC Player of the Year. Welcome to Unfiltered. I'm your host, Carl Reed.
And I'm Smoke Dixon.
Guys, it's time to get unfiltered. Smoke, tell them why they need to tune in.
Man, see, Reed, you know they got to tune in to hear two football guys discuss some unfiltered truth about what's going on in today's college football ecosystem from the lenses of two former coaches, two former players, and your resident GM, Smoke Dixon. See, Reed, let's get unfiltered, my man.
In today's episode, we will break down analyzing the future of the ACC conference. Is the ACC a destination conference for other programs? ACC coaches Smoke with the most to prove in 2024. Cam Ward, is he in fact the front runner to win the ACC Player of the Year? We'll talk about it in today's show.
Carl Reed and Smoke Dixon, I'm spitting facts. Now let's hit some heated topics. Yes, it's time for group chat.
Smoke and I have decided to let you in our unfiltered group chat, Smokers group chat time, so you can see what we've been talking about during the week of what's going on in the world of college football. Smoke, topic one. How Florida State and Clemson can impact the ACC if they depart the conference. Smoke, what's your thoughts on this? What happens to the ACC if Florida State and Clemson leave?
See, Reed, you saw just what happened to the Pac-2, Pac-3, whatever just happened out there out West Coast? That's the same thing that's going to happen. Once these two teams leave, if they leave, the whole conference is going to get crumbled. The last time this conference was even talked about is when either Clemson or Florida State won national championships. Nobody else has won anything since 2010. The last time that even Miami was a relevant program in talking about natties, Lil Wayne and he started putting on face tats. See, Reed. So you know what time it is. Those two teams leave, it's going to ruin the entire ACC. It's going to just become what we think it's going to be, a super conference of ACC, Big Ten, and a couple of Big 12 schools that's going to get tossed in. Everybody else is going to have to go fend for themselves. And you know, they started going to courts. Everybody's trying to get in. Everybody's trying to get out. It just looks bad when you're taking your own conference to court. You get on TV. You go 13-0, speaking of Florida State, and you still can't get into the conversation of being in the Final Four teams. I just know that they want to get out because they understand right now the ACC is not as strong as it's supposed to be, and I don't think it's ever going to be that strong.
You know, the thing that I think about, Smoke, when I think about this is, can it be fixed, or are they too far gone from it? Can the commissioner and the powers that be and the sponsors, I was talking to a big-time sponsor of the ACC conference earlier this week, can they sit in the room and can they figure it out between Florida State and Clemson, or is it too far down the road? This is going to impact the conference in the same way that UCLA and Oregon and those teams leaving the Pac-12 going to the Big Ten, it caused a mass exodus. Everybody's going to be looking at a place to go. You're right, Smoke. When you talk about the dominance of the SEC, when you talk about Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten, the teams that make the ACC a relevant contender are Clemson and Florida State. They've been the only teams that have been able to compete with the SEC and with the premier programs in the Big Ten for the last 15, 20 years. It hasn't even been close. So I'm going to take my ego out of this if I'm running the ACC, and I'm going to sit in the room with the powers that be at both schools and say, is there a way that we can figure this out? I'm going to let the hurt feelings go. I'm going to take all the emotions out of it, and I'm going to handle my business and do what's best for the league. And you can't tell me it's best for the ACC if they lose Florida State and Clemson. And they should be better prepared for this, Smoke, because years ago, when these conferences first started happening, they're the ones who raided the Big East because they wanted to be the best basketball conference in the country. They went and took all the programs and the Syracuses of the world so they can create a super basketball conference. So they should be better prepared for this because they did this before. So we'll see, what they do from there. Smoke, staying in the ACC, what coaches in the league have the most to prove in 2024?
Well, Reed, when we start talking about coaches with things to prove, I got to tread lightly because you're a guy, once I start talking about coaches getting a hook left, right, getting fired, getting sent out of the U-Haul truck, your emotion starts going up and you want to adjust your glasses and you want to tell everybody I am Smoke, but I'm smoking smoke, I'm Pop Smoke, everything other than, you know what, Smoke is just trying to break it down and just give you the unfiltered truth about what's going on. So all I'm asking you is, are you going to bring it down today? Go get you a box of that coconut water that I usually sip on, calm your nerves, cool down, get your hydration electrolytes up so we can settle. Are we good?
We good. Go ahead.
All right, let's take a trip down to the 305 and let's go talk about our guy, MMA, Mario Cristobal. Got a lot to prove. Carl, you and I always talk about resources. When you have NIL, you have the opportunity of one of the best recruiting hotbeds. You're back at your school. Everything is drummed up for you to now capture a chance to play in the conference championship and give yourself an opportunity to play in the playoffs. Well, this is the year. You went out in the transfer portal, got right with your quarterback. You got the running back. You kept your receivers because Kevin Beard did an awesome job of keeping his best two guys in-house to give you an opportunity to now have an explosive offense. You've removed yourself. You said you've gotten yourself fixed and understand how to manage games because now you are in your years of understanding how to do that. I don't possibly see it, but hey, that's what you're saying. You can't lose games, C. Reed, to Georgia Tech in the last few seconds just because you can't handle it. You can't lose to UNC. You can't lose to NC State. If this happens now, it's going to be time to move on. But now everybody's looking at you saying it's only Clemson, Florida State, yourself with a loaded team, with a veteran quarterback that's going to now get those games out of your hand. If you want to fumble it, he's going to say, Coach, no, I got it. So, yes, Mario Cristobal, off the top rope, you were the first guy to prove something to us, the Unfiltered crew, because right now at 12-13 ain't doing it. You got to run the board and go 11-1, 10-2, somewhere around there for us to even have this conversation. Lot to prove. See, Reed, what you got now? I know you are a member of the 305 Mafia. You get down there a lot with Uncle Luke, so you better say the right thing. So they might not have you come down there get any more citrus. So do what you got to do.
I'm going to tell you right now, everybody that I talk to around the University of Miami program says that the U is back, that this is their year. Cam Ward is who has them this excited. So I'm excited to see if they can bring it back. Every time I talk to Uncle Luke, he says, Reed, Miami's going to go undefeated, and so it's going to be interesting to see. But they finally have the quarterback. They've missed on the quarterback several times. Now, Mario has gotten a bad rep in terms of quarterback play throughout his career. But this is one that I don't think you can mess up, Smoke. I think Cam Ward is the real deal.
Hold tight real quick. You said Mario got a bad rep. Reed, when you have somebody getting $80 million, and we know coaches' contracts are guaranteed, you're well aware of that. He's getting $8 a year. Come on, man. You got to get this right. When they give you all that money, a lot is expected. And a lot of expected is with W's, not L's. Championship, natties, and rings. But we can keep it pushing.
Yeah, I don't think you can mess it up at quarterback with Cam Ward. I just think he's too good. I think he's too special. I think this is his year where they're really, really going to make some strides. Smoke, I got to ask you about another guy what we got up here, a guy you know very well. A lot of people have been critical about Clemson and Dabo because his unwillingness to dig into the transfer portal. What's your thoughts on Clemson?
Well, Uncle Sweeney, right, you've done a beautiful job of capturing national championships a few years ago. But what they usually say, Carl, what have you done for me? What? Lately. Winning 8 games ain't it? And I know the year before that you captured 10. But the fact that you aren't diving into it and evolving and understanding the landscape of the NIL market and getting your team better quickly, now everyone has that bullseye on you saying, hey, how are you going to do it? Can you do it without franchise quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson? Can you do it in the fashion of running the football? Can you go out there and win without Brent Venables? All this is coming back and saying, hey, Coach Sweeney, you are the guy, but we want to see you do it when your back's against the wall. But I'll tell you what, knowing him like I do, see, Reed, this is what he wants. This is what he looks for. When he wakes up in the morning, he's an underdog. He's a walk-on that won a national championship and become one of the better coaches in college football. Yes, we have a lot to prove. I think he has a lot to prove to himself that can show the rest of the world that I can win in a different way. I can not only build my team through high school, I don't really need the transfer portal that much. And I don't think he does because he understands what he needs at Clemson. He's the guy that basically built Clemson, right? So a lot to prove, but I think it's more coming from you have to get back to national championship standard, not the 8-5 Peach Bowl and hanging out there around Christmas and playing bowl game, real bowl games to play New Year's Day.
Well, let's not shortchange him. Let's not say he's been one of the better college coaches. He's been one of the elite coaches alongside Nick Saban and Kirby Smart in the country over the last several years. And we just talked about Mario Cristobal missing on some quarterbacks. He has hit big, especially with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. And those generational quarterbacks are the ones who deliver national championships to Clemson. So let's give him his due on that. But people do get restless. They want to know, does your way continue to work, Smoke? And so I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Clemson this year.
Well, Reed, you know what? I got one for you. I know this is your guy. We're going to take it down to Tallahassee. And we're going to talk about your guy. But get your head up and don't shake your head. It's time. I touch on one of mine. You touch on one of yours. Let's go to Mike Norvell. What's your thoughts on him?
I think Mike Norvell is positioned great. They're coming off a 13-0 regular season. They did get blown out in the bowl. Smoke. You know, how many kids did they have not play? 50 in that game? You know what I mean? So I don't put as much stock in that as you do. All right. I don't go by the bowl game. Florida State is in the conversation for best program in the nation. They've recruited well through high school. They've recruited well through the transfer portal. I don't see how you even have Mike Norvell on this list, man. This is smoke session, smoke.
Here we go again. Listen, here's why I have him on there, Reed. And this is not a fire coaches block list. This is top tier coaches with things to prove moving forward. Now, Reed, when you're back in high school, if you went 13-0 and something went awry, you didn't win it all. You're thinking coming back the year after. This is get back time. You have to show the world that I can do this. And it's not that he's not a good coach. I think he is a very good coach. And he's ran a very clean program and a good program. But when you go 13-0, you don't get an opportunity to compete and win the national championship. You show up to the bowl game and look very unprepared. Kirby had guys sitting out as well, too. And you get that 60 burger put on you. Reed, you lose by 7. Okay, conversation. You lose by 2 touchdowns. It's like, you know what? Fumble here or play there. You got to take that tape that just happened, and those are the ones that you go bury. You've had some of those games before, haven't you? I know you only lost for 5 games, but you got to have one of those games where you bury. That was a bury the tape game. So when you bury the tape and you come back from the year after, you have something to prove. You have to show the world that, hey, even though that we didn't play in the playoffs, our team coming back next year is going to be well prepared and ready to win the national championship and win our conference championship. I do believe he has a lot to prove, Steve Reed. I know you don't like it, but hey, that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. You got to eat it.
Florida State fans, when you hear this segment, don't DM me. DM Smoke Dixon at Coach GV Dixon on X and on Instagram. Don't bring it to me. hit him directly. He said it. I didn't say it.
I want all the smoke. Bring it.
Smoke. Let's move on to the next topic of our group chat. Cam Ward is front runner to win ACC Player of the Year. Do you believe this to be true?
1,000%. See, we started off the show with a great conversation, and you saw just the competitive side of who this kid is. But when you cut on the tape and you understand what he is, see, Reed, this young man has everything lined up right now. You got a program right now that's waiting for someone to just take it, and I think he's the guy for that. You have the OC that's going to give him the opportunity, let it rip. You have the guys up front to protect him. You have a dominant run game with a two-headed monster, maybe one of the most underrated groups with Fletcher and Damian Martinez, one of the better offensive linemen, Francis Maluga. And now you have those two guys outside, X and Colby. What they have right now is a recipe for success. Leadership with explosive play, good quarterback play. All you're going to see is this kid week in and week out just get better and put up stats upon stats upon stats. See, listen. This is why I like when I went back and watched film. My evaluation tactic is typically I go the best team that you play against and the worst team that you play against. And the reason why I always go against the worst team is I want to see how competitive you are. He lit the worst teams up, but when he played against Oregon, Washington, and Washington State, all ranked team in the old Pac-12, he put up, let me read the stats out to you, see, Reed. Against Oregon, he put up 438 yards, 70% completion. Yeah, they lost, but it was a close game and a touchdown. Versus Washington, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns. They lost 24-21, maybe the closest game that Washington played all year. And it was him and himself getting it done, playing ball. So now when you put him in a situation in Miami and you give him a national audience, and he's on the East Coast now, not only do I believe this young fella has an opportunity to win Player of the Year in the ACC, but I believe that he has a true opportunity to become a contender in the Heisman Trophy race. That's my case. I'm spilling it to you. What you got for me, C. Reed?
Now you said something preposterous, and I like Cam Ward a lot. But one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard is you say stats are greater than wins and losses, right? Bill Belichick told you years ago, stats are for losers. Final scores are for winners. So he's going to have to win those games, right? That he has to win. He's going to have to do that. And so we've talked a lot about Cam Ward. The impact that he's going to have at Miami is going to be huge. And he's the reason that everybody believes the Canes are back. But I think a kid that not enough people are talking about is Virginia Tech quarterback, Kyron Drones. Kyron Drones is a guy that first got put on my radar by a couple of NFL scouts who really like this kid's game. This kid is a bigger, thicker kid, has a similar body to what Jalen Hurts had at Alabama. Virginia Tech, last year, 17 touchdowns, 3 INTs, 818 rushing yards for 5 more touchdowns. An incredible dual-threat quarterback. Virginia Tech, Smoke, you know this from the scouting world, has had 5 or 6 guys that are really trending towards the NFL draft. I think that not only Kyron Drones has a chance to really push Cam Ward, he's also a part of that quarterback training group that's always with him and Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't get talked about enough. This guy is a pro. And not only can Kyron Drones push Cam Ward for the ACC Player of the Year, Virginia Tech is going to be my sleeper team this year in the ACC because of the amount of NFL talent that I continue to hear scouts talk about. They got great quarterback play in Kyron. They got a couple of defensive linemen, secondary guys. So I'm not just going to crown Cam Ward yet. I think Kyron Drones, Smoke, is going to push his way into this conversation this fall.
Well, see, Reed, but when I cut on tape on my guy, Kyron, he's still in the 50 percentile, 58 percentile in terms of completion percentage. Mm-hmm. But a couple of days ago, we talked about Drew Aller. at Penn State, and he's 59%. This is a percentage better than but here's the difference. Drone is a dual threat quarterback. And when you're a dual threat quarterback, you ran off 818 yards in terms of rushing. You're not playing the game from the pocket. So if he does get that percentage up into 60, 64, 65, now, see, Reed, we have an explosive and elite player. But as long as he hovers in that 50, I think he'll give Cam an opportunity to think about him, pushing him. But you got to get in the 60 percentile in order to get in that conversation. But, hey, listen, that's your dark horse. That's your sleeper. I'm going to go back to mine. I got one for you, okay? You know right now what you like. You remember when we sat down and watched Notre Dame play against Clemson last year?
Yes.
And the look on your face when you saw Phil Maffa get that ball and get downhill, you saw 6'1", 230-pound sledgehammer with sweet feet get in and out of holes swiftly, one cut, get downhill, explosive. And when he hit guys, you saw guys roll back. And I know that you were all ready to, now he's my sleeper for player of the year in the ACC. See, Reed, listen, in the last 5 games of the season when Will Shipley got hurt, you saw what Clemson is going to be this year. They're going to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand that turns it over, Klubnik, and run the ball more. And when you're running the ball with this guy, what you're going to do is going to wear people down. And now when you say 6'1", 230 pounds, you're thinking of a bowl. No. See, Reed, he's an impact in the passing game as well. And when he gets in the red zone, see, Reed, he had 13 touchdowns last year. He knows how to get in there. He had a run for 49 yards. He had runs for 20-plus yards. Going down the stretch of the season last year, Clemson looked like old Clemson football. Everyone always talks about Clemson being explosive passing. No. Running the football with this young fella is what they're going to do. And 965 yards in those games, and he was basically the backup, I'm going to put him in 1,400 yards. He's going to come off the board, and I'm going to jump out there, Carl. I know there's a lot of running backs out there. Judkins. You got Damian Martinez. By the end of the year, this young fella is going to be the best running back in college football. He has the goods for it. Between him and Ollie Gordon III, it's going to have that conversation. Keep coming. Keep coming. I got more for you. Keep coming. Keep coming. Sledgehammer, one cut, downhill, knock your block off. The same look that you had when you saw him versus Notre Dame, it's the same look that you're going to have and say, man, Smoke, what was you smoking? Good smoke. Downhill smoke. 1,300-plus yard smoke. 25 touchdown-plus smoke. And he's going to be in the conversation, running up the board for player of the year in the ACC. Phil Moffitt, just get ready. I told Coach Sweeney, when Coach Sweeney sits up and that face gets smut, it's something. This is one that he's talking about. CJ Spiller, get it done, big dog. I need it. I need Reed to shut up.
Hey, this was a very good player. You're right. We watched that game together. I was with you up until you say they look like the old Clemson down the street. You always go a little bit too far, but we're not going to bring the fans in our personal conversation right here. We're going to deal with that offline. We're going to talk about that. Guys, listen, every Wednesday and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, you can check out Unfiltered on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. You have just been Unfiltered.